Welcome to the Lens at 177, and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission has come into being recently with the appointment of the commissioners and, of course, the chairperson of the commission, Dr. Marcus Brand. Dr. Marcus Brand is guest on the program today. Welcome to the show, sir, and let me ask you the first question. What is the main goal of the TRC as we see it in the law that has been passed?
First of all, Anis, thank you very much for having me on the program, and thank you for welcoming me to Fiji. This has only been a week now since I arrived, and I'm still getting used to the new context and the environment, and having this opportunity to speak through you to the wider public is something I appreciate very much, because there are many questions out there, and we want to be very transparent and open about who we are and what we are trying to achieve. The TRC, the Fiji Truth and Reconciliation Commission, has been set up by an act of parliament that very clearly defines the purpose and the functions and powers of the commission. So this is what we will go by. So if you ask me what the purpose is, this is the result of many years of debate and discussion in Fiji among the political leaders, but also with the general public. And many feel that this is a good time to have such a commission in place. And the main mandate that it has been given is to try to find ways to promote social cohesion through healing and reconciliation. Healing and reconciliation includes an engagement with all stakeholders and all of those affected by the political upheavals of the past, especially since 1987, and the trauma that has been caused by that. So there will be a very strong focus on truth-telling, but at the same time, not with a main direction of finding culprits and perpetrators, but really with having the focus on a healing process, on trying to come to terms with the past and to allow everyone to feel with, live with less anguish and anxiety about the past and the trauma that may have affected them, and ultimately work towards the foundation for a better future in Fiji that makes everyone feel more comfortable.
You've worked with work in other countries in regards to truth and reconciliation. Which countries' problems can be mirrored to what Fiji has gone through and what you are here to achieve?
Well, that's a tricky question, because the context you have here in Fiji is quite unique, it's quite special. Many other countries have had similar truth and reconciliation commissions in the past, and we will be looking at those models, and we are already in touch with many experts who have worked on those. And there are certainly many lessons and experiences that one can learn that may be useful for the Fiji context. But the very specific historical and social context that you have here in Fiji is quite unique. And also the mandate given to the TRC is quite different from some of what the other TRCs in other countries have had to deal with. For example, in your case, in Fiji, the focus is much more strongly on survivors, on healing, on a forward-looking effort in building social cohesion, whereas the similar truth and reconciliation processes or transitional justice processes have had more of an effort, more of an element of compensation, for example, or even legal accountability, which is not the case in the mandate of our commission. But there are, of course, many societies around the world that struggle with difficult issues of national identity, of historical legacies, especially in the post-colonial world. The question of different narratives about the country's history is something that plagues many other countries, because it can also be exploited by political leaders that have an interest in benefiting, in instrumentalizing divisions and differences, ethnic resentment in order to gain politically. this is something that happens the world over, and I have to say that we live in a time when around the world there are many trends in many countries that are going in a different direction. And that makes it very interesting to see what Fiji is trying to do, namely to push in another direction, to actually look critically at its own past, but not with the main intention to judge and to blame, but in order to build a common narrative and a common understanding and better relations for the future.
Given what you have said, how is the Commission going to entice or urge the general public or the politicians who were involved in the past politics of the country to come forward? How are you going to do that? Or do you see that job to be a very difficult one?
Well, it is certainly a difficult challenge, but we are just starting our preparations. We just came together as a commission a week ago, and we are currently in a starting period where we are sorting out basic administrative issues like building a staff cadre and securing resources, office space, and etc., etc. Then that will be followed by a 2.5 months period of a preparatory phase, during which we will engage in intensive planning for a methodology on how exactly we will conduct these hearings. And already during that 2.5 months period, we will also engage very proactively with other stakeholders, other groups in society. We will travel parts of the country and consult with others to hear them on what their expectations are of the process and what input they would like to give in the work that we will be doing. The actual hearings will have different forms depending on who we will be talking to. There will probably be a part that will be more public. The public has a big interest in hearing, for example, from political leaders of the present and the past who had responsibility, who were themselves witnesses or protagonists of the political events that we will be looking at. But there will also be an element of more individual truth-telling, where people would not want to have the attention of the wider public, and so we will also find ways of providing a comfortable space for survivors as they are defined in the Act, people who were affected in one way or another through human rights violations that occurred and through trauma that may have been caused, for them to be able to come forward and safely talk about their experiences.
One of the aggrieved politicians in Fiji, Mahendra Chaudhary, has said just this week that there cannot be true reconciliation without justice. It's people like him you have to entice to come and testify. Does this statement bother you at this stage?
No, it does not bother me. Actually, I'm very glad that people do pay attention and look critically also at the mandate that we were given. Now, I have to say that as a commission and as commissioners, we will not question the mandate that we were given, but we will operate within the legal framework that we were given. But we will certainly try to reach out to also those who have a more critical understanding of this, the opposition parties, but also some people in civil society who have made some critical remarks. We invite everybody to be part of this process, and we will find ways appropriate for everyone to share their experiences. Now, I personally understand very well that many in society feel that true accountability for past human rights violations cannot be achieved without also legal responsibility, legal accountability. The Commission, the TRC, as it is designed, does not have any judicial functions, does not have the power to convict anyone, to pronounce anyone guilty. That is simply not the intention by the legislation on what we are supposed to do. But I understand very well that many people in society feel that there is that past human rights violations have insufficiently been addressed by the legal system. This may be something that we will recommend in our final recommendations. I don't want to preempt now what we will be saying in 2 years when we deliver our final report, but this is certainly something that we will be listening to. So the feeling of grievance of not being heard by also the legal system, this is also one of the things that we will take into account. And global experience also shows that truth and reconciliation processes that serve only to whitewash perpetrators and those in power will not have sufficient respect by the public and will not actually serve social cohesion and reconciliation. So we will have to very carefully explore the different opinions and the different experiences, and I can just reassure you that we will act independently from the government. We are very much determined, me and my fellow commissioners, to hear out everyone, to collect all the opinions from society, and to see to it that everyone feels an ownership not only of this process but also of the final product that we will deliver.
What will the Commission do in case during one of your hearings somebody comes up and admits to killing somebody and he or she hasn't been taken to task? What will the Commission do then?
Well, the Commission itself is not a police authority, an investigative authority, or a judicial authority. But the fact that the Commission exists and will conduct these hearings and the activities does not mean that the legal system is set aside. So the laws of Fiji still apply. And within the parameters of the Constitution, of course, which at this time give immunity for certain acts, all the law enforcement agencies can and will operate as they should. So the Commission, the work of the Commission itself just does not focus on that, but looks at those experiences as experiences of survivors and victims, but also as witnesses. But the term perpetrators as such is not really a part of the vocabulary that the Commission will use, and that is not the intention. So as I said already, the purpose is to come together over common narratives about what actually happened, to hear different perspectives. Different communities, different individuals have different memories of different experiences, and the important thing is that there is a safe space for that to be expressed freely and without inhibition, and that will of course also be difficult conversations, and so as you said, this may lead to the revelation of certain facts that are not yet publicly known. But the Commission itself will only take this as elements of truth telling, of establishing a narrative of the truth for and by the people of Fiji, and we will not as such engage in any law enforcement activities. But I understand that there is a strong expectation and need in parts of society for that to also occur.
Dr. Brand will take a short break. Welcome back, and Dr. Marcus Brand, the chairperson of the Fiji Truth and Reconciliation Commission, is with me. In the first segment, Doctor, you mentioned the statement by NGO and civil society that were critical of the commission. They've mentioned your appointment specifically. Why an expatriate? How do you respond to that?
So I've seen that statement, and first of all, I would very much like to express my readiness to talk to the authors of that statement and to have a meeting with them. I'm sure that once we actually have a conversation, a lot of these concerns would probably dissipate. So the Commission is not yet quite ready in these last few days to have external meetings with other audiences, but very soon we will be reaching out to all of those important stakeholders, and we are very much looking forward to not just having a conversation with them, but involving them in the work of the Commission throughout. Now, when it comes to the criticism of our own appointment as commissioners, I can only tell you that we are all very much committed to this process, and genuinely determined to be with this throughout, and that we are all going to try our best to fulfill our mandate. Now, if some people in Fiji feel that it is inappropriate to have an international person in this function, I can only say that this was the choice made by the legislature, by the parliament of Fiji when they adopted the law, and that this was the outcome of a consultative process. And there are different ways of how one can look at this, but I certainly am aware of the limitations I have as an international of understanding Fiji in the way someone like you who have lived here all your life. But at the same time, I hope that I can bring some positive aspects of a perspective from the dozen countries in the world that I have worked in, my 25 years of experience with international organizations, including in many conflict areas and areas that were undergoing transitional justice processes. So I hope that I can bring some of that global expertise, but also a very fresh look and a neutral perspective. I am not emotionally involved or attached to any particular group or period in Fiji's history. So in that sense, I think I can contribute a bit more of a fresh eye. But the other commissioners are, of course, from Fiji and have a lifetime of experience and connections in this society. So I think there's a good balance, and so far we have had very good experiences on this. But on the otherwise on the modalities of appointment, I would ask the Parliament and the government to respond to this, but not to question us. So I would appeal to everyone to give us the benefit of the doubt and to first meet us before putting out statements, and to, I invite everybody, and we commissioners invite everybody to have first a conversation and then clarify how we can work together.
Are you expecting more of these anti-commission remarks to surface in the coming months?
Well, I don't expect it, but I would hope that that different individuals who feel unhappy about some of this process, that they approach us first and let's have a conversation about it. We are very keen on receiving the input from different parts of society on how this process should be conducted. As I said, we are in the process of developing our methodology, and we very much want to learn from others also on how this could be done. For example, we have a quite strong mandate on making sure that marginalized communities, women, youth, children, will also be heard and will have a possibility to participate in this process. People with disabilities, people speaking different minority languages are all invited and encouraged to participate. So in that, we will rely a lot on the experience of civil society groups to work with us, and I very strongly hope that they will be partners in this. So if a truth and reconciliation process like this is of course always affected by a lot of politics, and I presume that once election season begins, there will be even more pressure in that regard. But I really hope that we can demonstrate that having a comfortable and fair and respectful conversation about historical events and also about current relationships, that will help to transform also the political discourse in a way that leads to more social cohesion and to more trust, even among people with different opinions. In a democracy, it is normal to have different views, different opinions, but it is also important to agree on certain ground rules, and that includes respectful communication, good listening, and the readiness to include everyone. And we are there to say to everyone, let's please talk, let's please engage, and let's try to build a process that serves the people of Fiji for the long run.
Interesting, you mentioned your work will overlap the election here in Fiji. Do you intend to suspend your work given what could be happening during the campaign period, knowing Fiji's politics? A lot of politicians go back to 1987, mudslinging, who did what.
Yeah.
So it will overlap the work you are doing. Do you intend to suspend your work or?
Well,
or
I do not intend to suspend anything, but we have to take the political context into account. I think we will be able to communicate to the people of Fiji in the next few weeks of what we really try to do and how that is isolated and firewalled from the politics in the parliament and among the parties. Of course, political leaders have a role to play in a constructive way to participate in this process, but we hope that they can take a step back and not politicize the engagement in the truth and reconciliation process and in the work of the Commission. We believe that this effort is really goes beyond day-to-day politics and is something that the people of Fiji need and deserve in terms of coming to terms in a more truthful way, in a more honest way with the past, but in order to have a more constructive relationship with each other for the future. So an election period could also be a very good test phase for practicing better and more constructive communication and ensuring that the political competition does not exacerbate divisions and trauma and difficult relationships, but actually moves beyond that and focuses more on other things that the voters care about.
Your work will take you back to 1987, the first coup. Do you think it's just a memory amongst Fijians now, or is it still fresh and can be relived?
Well, that certainly depends on the age group. I think there are still many people alive and very much aware of how they experienced it back then. And for those people, including those who were actively involved, I think it's also important to accept that these events were experienced differently by different people. There are some people who were supportive of those events, and there were others that felt very threatened by it. Now, whose truth matters more? That's not a question for us to decide, but for us it's important to acknowledge that different historical events that have a certain factual and objective dimension were experienced in very different ways by different individuals and also by different communities. So the narrative that different communities have built around those events is different and is the source of a lot of tension and resentment and sometimes even fear. And it is important to acknowledge that different people experience historical events differently, and to try to understand the motives and where the other people are coming from, I think is an important part of this exercise. And then you have the younger generation, all those who don't have personal experience from those days, but they often inherited the narratives and even the trauma from their parents' generation and have sort of deep-seated resentments or deep-seated grievances about certain individuals, but even other groups that may affect their relations to others in society. And we will try to gently and carefully bring some of this out and make people able to safely talk about this in an effort to try and also acknowledge different views and perspectives and try to overcome some of the difficulties that this might still cause. So the events of a particular time like 1987, but also 2000 or 2006, they did not take place in a vacuum. They were part of historical processes and narratives and attitudes and stereotypes, fears, expectations. Some of them reach back many generations. And we believe that Fiji now wants to escape from this cycle of turmoil, of upheavals of the political of the democratic political process, and try to go on a different path that will allow for differences to be settled in a less traumatic way, in a more constructive way.
The leader of the 1987 coup, current Prime Minister Siti Rabuka, has said he's going to give names, name people. If it came to you, will you hold his testimony in camera or publicly?
Well, this is too early to say at this point. I am aware of his statements, and his readiness to support this process is a very good sign. But how exactly we will organize this, we have yet to discuss that in the Commission. The mandate of the TRC includes the possibility for having confidential and in-camera consultations and testimonies. But for which individual this will apply, we have yet to see. But it is essentially designed to protect the interests of the people that will be talking to us. So it is up to us to allow people to give their testimonies in different formats, but we have to act in the interest of the survivors and the witnesses, because they may have safety concerns, they may have other concerns. So we will have to be very careful in protecting the rights and the interests of the people that we will be exposing or that we will be talking to. But when it comes to leading politicians, I presume that they will want to tell the people not just that their stories not just to us, the TRC, but to the people of Fiji. And we hope that we will be able to provide appropriate setup for that. But again, that it does not become a political show and an act of performance, but that it also contributes to the larger purpose of the Commission, which, as I said, is to promote social cohesion through healing and reconciliation.
And what if one of those key politicians refuses to come before the Commission? Let's, for example, say Frank Bainimarama. Do you have powers to summon him under that?
Well, we don't have legal power to summon in the strict sense of it. That's not the way the law is designed. But we do have the authority to invite and to examine witnesses under oath. And we will certainly issue invitations to the key informants and key individuals. If someone refuses, whether it's a leading politician or an individual citizen, we cannot force them. But I also don't think that forcing someone to appear before this Commission would be very conducive to the larger purpose of truth-telling for reconciliation. So we will try to work through voluntary collaboration. We do have a part of the law that obliges other state institutions to support us and collaborate with us, and so far I've only experienced that that is indeed the case, while of course maintaining our independence. But we cannot force any individual to come before us, and but we will try to make it clear to the public and to these individuals of what it is about that the TRC does and why we would want to talk to them, and we hope that that will encourage everyone to be part of this process.
Dr. Brand will take another break and continue the discussion on the other side. Welcome back, and Dr. Marcus Brand is with me, the chairperson of the Fiji Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Sir, let me ask you about the funding. Just yesterday, there was a signing program with the British government funding of some sorts towards TRC. But in general, could you explain who's funding the commission at this stage?
So the Truth and Reconciliation Commission is a statutory body of the Republic of Fiji, and therefore is covered by the state budget, and there will be provision by the state budget to cover the main expenses of its operations. We are currently working on a plan, on an operational plan, especially for the 18 months of hearings, and on the basis of that plan we will develop a budget, and that will be submitted alongside the other state agencies to the budget process. I have been reassured by the present government that the resources for the Commission's operations will be provided and will be made available. In addition, the Act also foresees the possibility for development partners, Fiji's global partners, to contribute to this process. And we already have this support in the form of the European Union, which covers my role, but also from the United Kingdom, whose High Commissioner yesterday formalized the contribution the UK is making to the work of the Commission. We hope others will also come along, but we also hope that we will be able to work in parallel and alongside with, for instance, UN programs and other programs that have similar goals of promoting social cohesion and reconciliation. So the idea is not to attract more funding than we need, but really just to try and use the resources that we have to the best effectiveness. I would also like to, since if you allow me to just comment briefly on why should Fiji spend money on this kind of process when there are so many other urgent needs, from hospital equipments to roads to many other things that many people in Fiji are in dire need of, and we recognize that, and we therefore also are very much motivated in doing our job as effectively as we can, so that it actually makes a difference. But how can this be justified? Is if you look, for example, at Fiji's overall growth over the past 38, 37 years, since the 1980s. Fiji has suffered several times from significant political upheavals and political instability, and that has led to large level of out-migration. It has also led to a lack of investment and investor confidence, and that has basically cut Fiji's potential growth rate from where it was in the 1980s by about half. So in other words, if you talk to economists, they will tell you that the repeated periods of upheaval have cost Fiji half of its wealth that it could otherwise have. So in other words, if you continue to have a society that is prone to politicized mobilization of communities, to political instabilities, have anti-democratic coups and things like that, then you will continue to be on that growth trajectory. But in reality, Fiji could actually do much better than it does if it really mobilizes all the human resources that it has, and if it gives safety and security to everyone in society to be fully part of it, and to have also a safety in the and security and belief in the rule of law. And so the hope is that with this process we will be able to contribute to some healing that will allow Fiji to have a more stable democratic development in the future, that will also allow Fiji's economy to live up to its full potential. So in that sense, I believe that it is probably an investment worth taking, just as you would invest in your own health, both mental health and physical health, in order to have a better life and to have a better future.
You mentioned the EU is funding your stay here. Are you able to reveal in Fiji dollars how much is that?
No, I don't want to reveal any of this information, but I can tell you that the EU is very committed to contribute also in other ways to this process. The EU is one of the main development actors here in Fiji, and I'm meeting with them regularly, and we will make sure that the EU will have the possibility to invest in other processes that will benefit the people of Fiji.
Are you able to tell us how much will the Fijian commissioners be paid?
No, I cannot reveal that kind of information. That is confidential information, and I would not want to speak also for others. And I don't think that is. But it is in the normal range of what you would expect from senior professionals in this kind of function. Everyone that is part of this also makes a significant commitment, and that includes also a significant level of risk. So I think this is appropriately compensated and remunerated, and I don't think that it's appropriate to speculate about the level of payment.
Dr. Brand, what are the biggest obstacles you foresee in the work that the Commission will undertake?
Well, I don't foresee any obstacles as such, but there will certainly be challenges. One challenge is to gain and to maintain the people's trust. The trust of the people of Fiji is absolutely essential for being able to conduct this work effectively. And we will try to gain that by being very transparent and through our actions. And we will reach out very soon and speak in different occasions and opportunities. We will also use the media to reach out. And we will try to explain what we mean by healing, what we mean by reconciliation, and why that is important for the people of Fiji. Truth and reconciliation commissions and processes around the world are absolutely dependent on the level of political will to make them happen and to allow them to be independent. So in many countries, truth and reconciliation commissions have been set up, but where only partly able to achieve results because they did not have the confidence of the general public to be independent and to be genuine efforts of truth-telling without fear and retribution. We hope that at the moment we see that we have the political will in place, not just to make this happen, but to allow us to operate independently and through engaging with all relevant stakeholders. It would be an obstacle if we if that changes. So if for some reason the political climate changes to an extent that we can no longer operate independently, or that we no longer have resources, that would of course make it very difficult. But nevertheless, I think that we will be able to achieve as much as we can, and simply by having these kind of conversations about truth-telling, about trust building and dialogue in society, that every little step in this direction will make a difference, and we hope that the people of Fiji will benefit from that.
The Commission is supposed to make recommendations to the government. What do you expect the government to do once they receive your report? Sit on it, or immediately start working on putting into place the recommendations you have made?
So if you add up all the times in the time periods of the Act, you will be able to determine that we will deliver our report in roughly 2 years from now. We don't know what government will be in place then, but we know that the law as it stands now actually obliges the government, the state, to implement the recommendations of this commission to the extent possible and within reasonable limits of resources. We will obviously aim for our recommendations to be sensible and implementable, and we will be working with both the government and others to ensure that there is enough ownership that they in a way get carried by themselves beyond this legal obligation. I don't want to speculate now on what the recommendations will include, but I can already foresee that we will most probably recommend a more permanent effort at promoting social cohesion, truth-telling, in the form also of memorials, museums perhaps, of documenting the past in a way that is accessible for everyone, and also to install in society ways and means to monitor the relations between different groups, attitudes, between different communities, in the form also of social media monitoring and things like that. So there are many other good examples from other countries that can help. Let's say, even if you go to the doctor and you heal from a disease, you still want to keep fit in the future. So you want to be able to adopt a healthy lifestyle, so to say. And also societies can can make choices of a healthy lifestyle as society, and that includes, for instance, investing in education, making sure that all children who grow up here have access to the knowledge that is also provided through this process, and are able to have conversations about differences about different identities without that leading to conflict potential. So there are many good practices that can be adopted here in Fiji, and I hope that the government at the time will be open to that, and we will certainly also include in the recommendations a process of reviewing the recommendations themselves. So the commission itself will automatically dissolve at the time when we deliver our report, but there should be some kind of a permanent structure or forum to actually review the implementation of the recommendations, so that this becomes more of an ownership of society at large.
Final question, Dr. Brand. If there is a change in government and your report is given to a new government, who decide that your report will sit on a shelf to collect dust, will it sadden you in that scenario?
I mean, we can speculate about many possible scenarios, both in Fiji and in the world, and nobody knows the future. We don't know. There are many global trends at the moment that are quite worrying, but I don't think that it's very helpful to speculate about such kind of scenarios at the moment. We have a very clear mandate. We have a good team in place. We have the work cut out for us, and we are going to focus on that. And we will be trying to manage the obstacles that will be thrown in our way, but we will continue to be determined by the ultimate goal of helping the people of Fiji to grow together with more social cohesion, build more trust, have a more comfortable relationship with its own past and with each other, and in that regard, it really doesn't matter what kind of government is in place in the future as an outcome of the democratic process. We will try our best. Fiji society will be there, and we ultimately serve the people of Fiji, and that's what we will be focusing on.
Dr. Marcus Brand, thank you very much and all the best.
My pleasure. I hope to see you again.